Yo, what's happening, people? Back at you again because this is quarantine and we've got time on our hands. So we're getting these podcasts out there. You get me? Ears to the road.
Bro. Interviews in. Ears to the road. We're back. We're here, people.
And we've got, personally, my favorite type of Ears to the Road podcast. A little saying we called GrimeyRealityInMyEnds. Acronym of GRIME. If you don't know what acronym means, Google that. But this shit is grimy, innit? And this week, we've got a special guest from, not even from this continent.
Trust me.
You get me? Like,
we're still on quarantine out here, though.
My brother?
Yo.
Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell them where you're from, tell them who you are, and let's get grimy.
Don't know already. I go by the name of Riddimz. It's a mad one. You know what? I'm repping Toronto, Canada, as you can see. Raptors all day, every day. Yeah. Originally from Manchester, M32 repping. However, I rep London as well, East Side, E16.
Bang, 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 bang.
Don't know.
Jeez,
But right now, Toronto, you're broadcasting live from Toronto, Canada.
Jeez, man's in the six and that, yeah?
What? So last week, so it's real out here.
So what, you're not in like proper lockdown over there?
Yeah, you know, we started, I've been crossing off the days. I'm on day 37 right now.
Jeez.
Day 37, so it's locked down, but you still got the idiots on road, still jamming at the parking thing, but like,
same as England then.
It's meant to be locked down though, still.
Yeah. So what, Riddimz, what, a lot of quarantine radio and all that, yeah?
Yeah, a lot of the bedroom DJs are coming out, throwing their raves. It's madness out here, man. There's more raves now than there was when it wasn't quarantine.
Of course. Yeah. And you touched out of these raves. Bare celebrities in their raves, bro.
Yeah. We catch the celebrity, the clashes.
Yeah. Versus.
Yeah. They've been sick still.
Hold tight, Teddy Riley, still.
Right.
So, just judging from your intro, like there's quite a lot to unpack just from your intro. So you said you was born and raised in Manchester?
Yeah, so originally I'm from Manchester, from Stretford, Trafford. And then it's not my choice. I see that. But yeah, it's not my choice, but my pops moved over to, he got a job in Canada, in Toronto. So we didn't have a choice. Me and my older brother, we just got shipped over and we were sent there. And obviously, like, I'm a type of person, wherever you're born, that's where you're from. Like, there's a lot of people hailing this, but wherever you're born, to me, that's where you're from. And long story short, it was one of them ones where, like, I know it's like a cliche, but like, I didn't feel like I was really like belonging in Toronto. So like quickly, as soon as I finished school, I just headed back to England. But at the time, because like, for those of you who haven't been there, Manchester, it gets real out there. It's a bit good in Manny still. So
they used to call it Gunchester.
Yeah, they still do. Some bits are still like that, man. But so when I moved back to England now, it was one of those ones where, like, my family was kind of telling me, you know what, you have more opportunity in London as opposed to Manny, and I had family in London too, so just set up shop there. Jammed there. I was there 7 years. I was in London still. Canning Town a bit, East Side, Forest Gate. Yeah, so, and then, long story short, I was back and forth. I moved to Canada 3 times. I'm on my 3rd time now. I know, honestly, man's like Carmen San Diego out here. But it's, I've been here 10 years now. 10 years last month. It's all been all over.
So, obviously, this being Grimy Reality in my ends, Grime podcast, obviously, go check us out on the socials and all of that. You're not just here because we're going to have a nice conversation about colonial North America. We're here to talk about what I would say is England's greatest export, which is grime music. So,
I agree.
So where does grime come into your life? Like who? Like not even in the back. Like who are you? As in, like who do you rep? Do you have a crew?
Yeah.
What's going on? How does grime play a part in your life?
As of now, I'm actually, I don't want to say I'm flying solo. I have a crew, but I'm the only grime MC out the crew. BTB, Brucetown Brigade, all day, every day.
Wait, say that again. I feel
Yeah.
like I lost you.
Again.
Brucetown Brigade.
Brucetown Brigade.
BTB. But I'm the only grime head out there. So like as far as grime goes, I'm kind of going solo. But I was in a couple other crews. Another one called BMD.
Okay.
It's in Toronto, so the name is the British Man Them, which makes more sense when you're not in Britain. And then I had another crew we were called the UK Connection, which was a connection of kind of people from UK in Toronto, sort of thing. All with musical backgrounds. Like some was doing garage, some was doing drum and bass, some was doing grime, dubstep, that sort of thing. But I mean, like with the music thing, we gotta take it like way back. Like I started off as like when it comes to the music, I keep it. I'm one of the organic people. Like I like I'm like a purist. So I was into like the backpack hip hop sort of thing, like the original like roots reggae sort of thing. I'm not into like poppy type of music. I'm not into like what's popular. It's almost not hipster, but like if it's popular and because Toronto's a place where things get played out quick.
Yeah.
Like they have their own little niches, but if they're quick to jump on the next fad, whatever the next fashion is, and like for me, I just like to keep it real. So I was into the hip hop thing. We're going back 90s, man. I'm a bit older still, so we're going back. Late 90s. I was into the hip hop thing, and then it just started getting mad.
So musically, like, do you remember like when you discovered music, not grime, just as a child? Like, do you remember like the sort of music that was played in your house, or like a particular song, or just anything musical from when you was a young buck?
It'd be for my pops. He was big on the vinyls. We're going back like ska.
Okay, yeah.
Like original like roots reggae.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of Motown. Basically, whatever black people were playing, that was
of course. And we're talking what, mid 80s sort of?
As far like from what I can recollect, late 80s, early 90s.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so stuff that we'll probably be familiar with as well. All right, then.
Yeah.
So do you remember what your very first, like when you had a choice in the music that you listened to, you remember what kind of music that was, how you got into that music?
I hear the maddest thing?
Go on.
The maddest thing was, I was into it, but I have a brother that's 2 years older than me. So a lot of the influence came from him.
Okay.
And I remember, bear in mind, this is Canada as well. This is how mad it was. It was winter. It was snowing. We were just doing madness in the snow, kicked off a bit of snow. My brother found a cassette tape.
Bomba.
Got home now, quickly snuck down to my pop's music system, popped in the cassette tape, and it was a mix of everything. Like I remember Snow was in there. It was funny, like
Farmer, you know, something I could play. Do you know?
And he's from Toronto as well. Repping.
He was cold, you know.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people mock him, innit? Yeah, because he's a white man.
The first Grammy award for a record, or for a reggae record, was to him.
Right, but that tune lyrically kind of sick.
Hard, man. The tune went hard still.
Listen to me, yes. Listen to me, yes. He was cold, you know. That
He's still going today, man. Apparently in Jamaica they love him still.
Oh, for real.
But yeah, man. But I remember that was on the cassette. But the maddest thing was, a lot of alternative and rock music was in there. Nirvana,
Okay.
and Offspring, because it was around them. It was probably someone's mixtape or something. But like for the first like couple of years, I remember I was like going hard to like the alternative and the Green Day and the this, and eventually I found my way and just stuck to the reggae and this and that.
So
And it
what
just
sort of age are we talking? What, 11, 12, or a bit older,
uh, well,
roughly?
I mean, not to flatter myself or whatever, but like I'm 35 right now, so
Okay, we're similar age.
Similar
Yeah,
age, man.
we got a
so
few
we're
years.
going back 93, 94. So
Okay,
I
so
was
you're young.
7, 8, 9 around that
Yeah.
age.
Yeah, so you're still quite young.
Yeah, yeah. But that was one thing. Like from like as far as I can remember, music was there. Music was there, no matter what it was. And I don't hate on any music. Like I can find appreciation for good music as long as it's good music. I don't care. It could be a man banging on a wall with his fist. If it's good music, I can relate to it
Of course.
because I won't discriminate against any type of music. If it's good, it's good. And I think I like to think I have a good judgment and I can kind of see through like what's good and what's bad, and that's how the alternative and the rock came. Because you know what, like some of the things like, and now you fast forward like 20, 30 years, Nirvana's you see every man, even a hood man with a Nirvana t-shirt.
Yeah.
It's true.
I tell you what, so like the version like divulge a guy left a little bit, yeah. I
Mhm.
really like Led Zeppelin, innit, yeah. Especially that first album, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it like 1962? Fucking
Gee.
love that album. And I
Yeah.
see people walking around with a t-shirt, and I tried to swap up a little conversation with them about that, and they don't know what
That's
they're
the pretty
talking
much
about.
of the album.
And they don't know, and I'm like, what? I remember
Yeah.
once I was in you know, they got the match, you seen them, innit? Reimagined.
Yeah.
Reimagine thing. So they got this thing in London where they have an orchestra and they reimagine albums, like classic hip hop albums. And there was a girl in there, sorry, and she was wearing a Wu-Tang t-shirt.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm spitting bare Wu-Tang at her, trying to talk to her about Wu-Tang. She just looked at me like, I just bought the t-shirt from H&M.
It's
It
just a
was cheap.
fashion thing now, bro. That's what
And I was like,
people that wear things
oh.
with fashion. Like I've seen Black Metallica t-shirts. I've seen Black Sabbath, all them things, bro. Like it's just fashion.
Yeah, that's what it is. It just becomes fashion at the end of the day, which is why like it's even nowadays it's hard for me to kind of relate to a lot of the music because I know the roots and people are just like hopping on the thing. Like you said, it's a fashion thing, and it's hard to sort of relate to people that
Like people wearing
like,
retro.
okay, you can be young, but if you do your research and you do your homework, okay, cool. Now we're on a level now. Like
So Riddimz, what was like your earliest introduction into grime then? Like I know you're saying that you had influences like from other genres, etc. So like how did you discover this sound?
Where did grime come from?
Yeah, so for me it was I got through with the natural progression. So being like English through heritage, obviously I have family, I got cousins and this and that are into the music itself. And you man know my cousin Ryan, obviously.
Yeah, big up producer Ryan every time.
Yeah, I know, ice cream man. But his older brother is Ratty from Lord of the Mics, Lord of the Decks. And it was actually it was through him because around the times this is when we're going back when garage was sort of transitioning into grime, and a lot of the MCs from garage who wanted to spit a bit harder were going into grime. He was shot in the all the Lord of the Mics and Lord of the Decks, and this just a bit before that he had a distribution company before the Lord of the Mics and Lord of the Decks, and he put me onto the tunes. And he has another one of our cousins is Capo, who he started it with. I don't know if you might know him or not, but
I know of Capo. I've never met him, but yeah, we know of Capo.
Yeah, he's up in he moved out the hood now, but he was a hip hop MC, and he was like we have like almost the identical taste in music, and he was a hip hop purist as well. So if he said something was good, and obviously he's my older cousin as well, if he told me that you know what, this is good, you need to watch out for this, I'd listen automatically. And he was telling me about some of these grime MCs that were at the time were on garage, but he's like, you know what, just give it a bit of time.
Did you remember any of them names? Do you remember any of the eyes that he was talking about?
Wiley's, Kano's, Double as well, because obviously like I got appreciation for drum and bass and jungle and them things too. Like Who else was there? I used to love Heartless as well, even though they didn't really get into the team.
Yeah, no, but they're legendary.
Yeah, of course. And but for me, like where grime came, I just progressed with the time sort of things. As grime was being birthed, I was along that path.
So what are we looking at? We're talking about, what is this, like 2000, 2002?
Yeah, about 99, 2000, 2001, 2002.
Okay, so we're talking early.
Oh yeah.
So Solid Crew times.
Yeah, don't know. They were tough still. Yeah,
so Solid Crew.
Jeez, don't even start. But yeah.
So at that time, did you feel like, was you like a fan of the sound, or was you someone who's thinking, oh, this is something that I might want to do or get into myself?
So around them times, because I spit as well, and around those times I was spitting hip hop.
Okay.
I started spitting 98.
Okay.
Was
that like from school, like, because everyone in school was spitting?
Yeah, you know what? Because it was in Toronto as well, and the thing with Toronto, it's like a New York, but like a diet. It's like diet New York.
I've heard this.
It's like New York light.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We get a lot of art influence from the East Coast.
Yeah.
And around them times, there was always a circle going around, someone beatboxing, a cipher, a break dancer, or this or that. And I used to break dance a bit, but like I came home with too many bruise up knees and elbows. Let me try this spitting thing instead. And like for me, I always had a knack with words because I always had this thing with words and through English classes. Like I hate reading books, but I'll read like facts and this, and so I've always into reading and wordplay and this and that. So with the MCing thing, it just came it came natural to me. Okay. And I started off as a hip hop MC, but through the appreciation of the garage, I wasn't around the garage days. It was strictly hip hop for me. But as grime hit, it was around the time where, like, again, from back what I was saying, like being a hip hop purist, I didn't like the direction hip hop was going. So okay. I sort of, I don't want to say I gave up, but like my main thing was hip hop. And then as I discovered grime became my main thing. Like I still listen to hip hop, but
that was going into like the bling era, innit? It went from like hibbity hop from
like the 90s and
and it went into like the bling era, like
don't get me wrong, if there was a big tune, I'd still
of course
tune, but when that bling era happened, grime became my focus.
Of course, because grime was in its infancy and it was raw and it was rugged and it was fresh. It was real, innit?
Yeah. It was almost like how like I wasn't around the times when hip hop was just starting.
Starting off,
I can only imagine like
Africa Bambaataa and them, man.
Yeah. And that was that's how it happened for me, man. Like it was I can't say it was one thing that happened, but it was like moons aligning sort of thing. And like
how did you access grime from Canada? Because it was hard enough for people in the UK to access grime, let alone someone that's thousands of miles on a different continent.
I don't know if you might remember LimeWire.
Oh, of course.
Napster.
Yeah, of course. Because that's where I found a hell of a lot of grime.
Bearshare.
The amount of stuff I downloaded off of LimeWire and it came through.
And those days, the youth won't even know about them struggles as well. Those days, you put a tune on or even if it was a film or whatever, sometimes you're waiting 2 days to get
4 or 5 days.
Yeah,
bro. For one power rhythm to download, and then it downloads, and then all you hear is, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman."
The president thing, yeah.
Oh man, yeah. No, the youth won't know about them struggles today, man.
Of course not. Stream it.
But yeah, and like I said, because I have the heritage of England, like all you do is, for me, and like honestly, if I'm interested in something, I'm gonna do my own research. Like, okay, you might lead me to the water, but I'm gonna drink myself, and all they have to do is give me a couple names, that I'll do all the research myself. I'll not only will I find everything that's coming up right now, I'll find out how that artist started, what his origins were, what his influences were, and I'm listening to that too, because I don't want to just, because again, like I was saying before, like even if there's a man that was say he was born in the year 2000, he's 20 years old right now, I can rate him if he says, you know what, I listen to Grime, I know Kano, I know Wiley, I know how they start, because they might have done their research the same way I was doing my research. So they're not just coming from anywhere and hearing a tune that comes out on the radio yesterday and say, yeah, I'm the biggest grime head there is, but they might have done their research the same way I did and found their origins and their beginnings, and they kind of maybe fast track the progression, but in maybe a year's time, learn the whole history of grime. And it's like almost like they went to school for it, sort of thing.
Yeah,
But
no,
that's how I got into it, though. That's how I got into it, man.
So did you like? So we're talking what? Early to mid 2000s. So you're doing this grime. So you're listening to grime. And did you kind of transition into spitting grime at the same sort of time, or was you just a fan of grime but still spitting hip hop?
You know what? I can actually remember when I wrote my first grime bar. I wrote my first grime bar I remember I went on holiday to in London and Miami. I went in 2003. Okay. 2003, and I remember. In fact, with Capo, I was meant to go. I remember I was meant to go to the studio with him. I forgot what happened, but I remember he not he snaked me, but like he kind of like it didn't happen. Basically, long story, it didn't happen. But I remember I still had the bar. So the second I got home, because I wrote it out there when I was on holiday, and the second I got home, I recorded it.
Do you remember the bar?
You do, bro. Come on.
Jeez. I have it written down somewhere, but.
All right, cool. Don't worry.
We're going about
don't worry, man.
Yeah, but yeah, I remember that the first grime bar I wrote was 2003.
Wow. Yeah. And yes, and did you like show, like when you went back and came back to Canada or whatever, like was you showing people grime? Was you spitting this grime bar? How did they receive it?
Here's the thing. And yeah, you know what? And I know I can feel like the conversation, we're gonna get there and you're gonna see what it's like over here. But no, don't get me wrong, there's a lot in Toronto, I can't speak for the rest of Canada, but in Toronto, there's tons of British people. There's tons of British people, tons and tons. But the thing is, Toronto's a place where it's I won't say it's segregated, but it's, if you're Chinese, you're gonna jam with the Chinese, and they have their own part of the city for that. If you're Indian, there's a part of the city for you. If you're this, there's a part. So every culture is very multicultural, but it's not like England,
separated multicultural.
They stay in their cultures. Yeah. They stay in their cultures. And the thing is, there's tons of English people, but the thing with English people is they speak English. So they don't have to stay in there with their own culture because they speak English, and in Canada, it's the national language. So they wrote, there's English people don't group together like the other cultures do over here. So every crew I've ever been in, well, no, I can't say that, but like around them times, the crew I was the only Englishman in my crew.
Okay.
And now to go a step further now, when it comes to, like I said, there's tons of English people, but when we're talking about like ethnic, urban, Black, Caribbean English people in Toronto, it's scarce, man. That's a rarity.
I can imagine.
That's honestly like you're gonna see Sasquatch before you see two of them together, man. Honestly,
really. Yeah. Because there is, like, forgive me if I'm wrong, there's quite a big like Jamaican community in Toronto.
Yeah, huge.
But huge. They came from Jamaica.
Straight, or from the States.
Yeah, and or via the States. But not many that have kind of come your direction, got British heritage from Britain. Ended up in
so it happens. Don't get me wrong, it happens. But now, like you see how it just gets less and less. Like tons of English people, but then it gets less Black English people.
Yeah.
Then you got to be like Black English people who continue to be English rather than just took on the Canadian, the American thing. Then you got to think about Black English people who took on the American and listen to grime and UK music. And when you get to the specifics of someone that's urban and Black and from UK and likes grime and this, very small, very, very, very small, very small. It's honestly like growing up, I didn't meet. I mean, I've been there more or less my whole life, and I didn't meet anyone that was really into the music until I was in like my 20s.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
like,
did you not try?
okay, I was gonna say like the crew that you was in, like the early crews that you was in, and you was the only one spitting grime. I'm assuming what everyone else was spitting hip hop.
Yeah.
And how did you find that? Like being.
Well, I started off spitting hip hop to begin with.
Yeah.
So for me, it was when I was with them, I'd spit hip hop. If I do a solo track, I'll do grime. Well, okay. So one thing happened. Like I said, it was a rarity. So, like I played
Wait, hold on. What's happening?
college, and there was.
Wait. You need like it just froze.
Yeah. Start that story.
Yeah, you said one thing happened was, and then just went.
Oh yeah. No, it says something on this. Okay, so yeah, so I played football as well, and I ended up playing. Got a scholarship playing football at a college, and I
Wait,
went
is
to
this
the
proper football or
soccer. Man.
Okay.
Not soccer, man. But yeah, so I went to this college now, and like there was another black British brother there as well. He's from South London. He's from Brockley.
Okay,
And
yeah.
the thing is, it was like honestly, it was just it's one of those things you gravitate towards each other. He's black, I'm black. We're both British. We both play football. We both had bands as well. He's a Liverpool supporter, so automatically right off the bat, bands.
Yeah.
And then it came to music now, and like same story with him. He was the only black brother growing up. He came a bit after me. He moved to Canada in the late 90s, and the thing was him. He spit as well. He was more of a garagey type of MC though, but at the same time, like he grew up the only man that liked garage in his crew. Amongst his friends, his peers, whatever, he was the only man. But then when we found each other, it was just like, geez, you spit? I'm like, yeah. You spit? Yeah. You do music from Britain? Yeah.
Sick.
We're making a crew. It's
Cool.
Sick.
Yeah, cool. We didn't even think about it. First step was we had to find a DJ. One brother I grew up with. In fact, he's to this day, and this is the maddest thing. When I found this, I didn't find him. We grew up together, kind of thing. But I realized he DJed, but he was a drum and bass DJ, drum and bass jungle DJ. And I just asked him, "Can you DJ grime?" I could try. I'll see what I can do. At this time, we're in 2005. And he told me, I'll try. I mean, I know what I DJ, and you know what? The maddest thing from when I asked him if he could DJ grime to this day, he is the biggest grime DJ in the country. If I didn't ask him, yeah.
In 2005, where does someone in Canada get grime? Because 2005 it was vinyls, right? CDJs weren't really a thing.
Like we're going like Bear Shares and Lime. We're downloading that.
Okay, so
and at the same time, like whenever I go over, I bring back a big CD or something like that.
Okay, cool. All right, wicked. But, yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, so just from me asking him if he could just try, because at first he didn't even want to try it. But then he tried to. His name, I don't know if you man heard of him, but his name's Freeze the Chin. Like he's always doing. I don't know if you man heard of Trey Mission.
Yeah, I've heard of Trey Mission.
Yeah, so he's Trey Mission's producer right now as well.
Okay, sick.
And then, so we formed a crew, and we had another brother from Newcastle who was like sort of like a niche bassline DJ.
Yeah.
And the four of us, we just formed a crew. One man from London, a man from Manchester, a man from Newcastle, Chinese brother from Toronto, grime crew.
Sick.
That's a grime crew. And
what was the name of that crew?
The UK Connection.
Okay.
UK Connection. It makes sense.
Yeah. And we, at that point, there were people scattered around doing grime here and there, but we became the biggest grime crew in the country, like in the entire country, like, without fail. Like, we were the biggest in the country.
So what was you guys doing? Was you like making mix CDs? Were you making songs? Were you doing sets?
We did a couple of tunes. Not too many. Like, we did maybe about 5, 6 tunes. But our main thing was we were throwing raves. We were throwing a lot of raves. We had a radio show as well. We had a radio show for 4 years, 3-4 years. In fact, speaking of Trey Mission, we gave Trey Mission his first start on our radio show.
Oh, sick. So what was it? A pirate? Was it a pirate station?
It was out of a university, University of Toronto. They had like a student radio, but it was broadcasted.
To like the area.
Yeah, and they had their digital radio too. Because we had, honestly, it was a madness. Because we had call-ins as well, and it came to a thing where like we had people calling in from Germany, from Australia, from honestly, it was a serious thing still.
So how was GRIME received? So when you're doing this and you're doing GRIME in Canada, like how was it received at that time? We don't have to go into now, but at that time, how?
Now this is what I was saying. Like, we're gonna get into that because at the time, because you gotta bear in mind, like I said before, the culture that's taken on GRIME isn't the same culture. It didn't, because the origins are different. It's not coming from the urban man in the hood spitting about his struggles or what this and that. That's not like the raves that we were throwing. It wasn't like that. We had to kind of piggyback off of dubstep.
Makes sense.
Because with dubstep, you're going at a 130 to 140 BPM anyway, and the people.
GRIME dubstep's dad, I would say anyway.
Yeah, yeah. But and the thing about Toronto is Toronto had a massive dubstep community, massive. But the way they got into dubstep is through drum and bass. Yeah. Drum and bass and jungle, and drum and bass and jungle in Toronto is internationally known. Like that's like one of it's one of the grime and one of the jungle and drum and bass meccas is Toronto. So, tons and tons of producers and DJs come out of Toronto, and naturally. But even. No, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, because even in England, whenever there was a drum and bass rave, 9 times out of 10, the room 2, if it wasn't like a pure drum, would be dubstep.
Dubstep, yeah.
I went to so many dubstep raves that had a drum and bass room 2. It was just like they were like this.
Yeah, same as here. It's honestly, they went hand in hand. But it was mad because even though Toronto's one of the meccas for jungle and drum and bass, I personally think they have better dubstep DJs. The dubstep DJs that came out of Toronto are internationally known. Yeah. And we thought, you know what, if we can just it started off as a thing where if we can get, because obviously we had 2 MCs in a crew too, and we thought, you know what, if we can get some of these dubstep DJs who play 140 BPM to get us just to spit over the dubstep, then okay, that's a step in the door. And then little by little, we started playing tunes, and we had to introduce them to GRIME as well. And it's because of that reason, you might know yourself, because it's a bit different, but you might know yourself from going to drum and bass and jungle raves. The crowd that you get there is far.
It's not the urban crowd.
No,
different.
I was an early early dubstep raver in London. I used to go to a rave called Forward, and
I've been to
that place is incredible. I can talk a whole podcast about Forward. So I do know the kind of crowd.
That's foundation there, though. That's foundation.
And that's what I'm saying. And what you were saying about spitting with, trying to just spit with it. Like, I mean, P Money kind of kept himself not relevant, but kind of built his fan base doing
dubstep.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Like, he was a dubstep MC for quite a while when this whole Grime's dead thing, and that's not a disrespect to him because he was cold, but yeah, he kept his pen sharp doing dubstep.
MCs did that, right?
Yeah, of course. I remember the first time I went, DWE and Footsie was there, and DJ Tubby It was New General's DJ. He's a dubstep.
Yeah. Tommy Star.
Like he was a dubstep DJ anyway. So them and even Footsie's productions, a lot of them are dubstep.
Yeah.
So
just even on Double, honestly, couple of Double's albums are dubstep.
Yeah.
Well, I won't say albums, but like sometimes
like EPs and yeah.
Wow. But yeah, I mean that's it. Just getting your foot in it, because the thing is, we had to do two things. We couldn't just play good music and just play it and hope people like it. We had to educate people as well.
Of course.
So even on our radio show, what we were doing as well, we were giving history lessons out. We would dedicate, maybe because it was a 2-hour show, and we would dedicate the first hour to this is who Kano is. This is where he started. This is where, and we would just play all his tunes leading up to where he is now. And we do that with certain artists, because the more we educate them, the more they might be interested in to go into the raves.
Do their research.
And even if one person goes and does a bit of research, just one more person that you brought on board.
And they'll spread it. And that's how a lot of the raves happen, because you had a lot of people, a lot of groups of people coming to the raves, but a lot of times it's just the one person that likes the music and say, yo, come on, man, come check out the thing. And then he brings about 5 people with him, but he's the only one that likes it. But then after that day's done, maybe 2 more people might like it. And then it just would spread and spread. And it got to the point where we were actually, not just in the city, we were the biggest in the country. We were the biggest in the country. Raves all over, sort of thing. But then here's the thing. When you go all over, you have to educate all over again.
Of course.
So we had Toronto's, and don't get me wrong, we're not popular culture. We're still subculture. So we had a whole subculture of educated people who knew about grime. But then we had to go to, like, say, Montreal and educate them. We had to go to, like, the capital, which is Ottawa, educate them and that sort of thing. And which the radio helped, because that you can get your branches out without leaving the room, sort of thing.
When you was going to these raves, though, were they predominantly just dubstep, or were they starting to become grime raves?
Well, they do it in sets. So have we ever had a grime set? Maybe once or twice, but we give our hour or two. So at the height of it, when we were like the headliner, we would give maybe 2 hours of grime. But then the opening act would be a dubstep, or it would be a drum and bass, and then whoever closed it down would maybe be the same thing, a jungle and drum and bass.
So wait, what sort of time we talking? Like, just time frame, just so we understand kind of time.
UK Connection. You're looking at, we started off in 2005. I remember the first rave. Our first rave was actually a New Year's rave, 2005 to 2006. And we went until I moved back to England. I moved back to England in 2007.
Okay.
But then remember, I was bouncing back and forth, and they kept it going till 2010. 2005.
Oh, wicked.
2010, yeah.
So you had a good stretch. So
yeah. No, it was. Honestly, it was some mad times out there, man.
And did people receive it then? So when you're on stage or wherever, you're spitting your bars, and it's obviously different to hip hop.
Yeah.
And what people might be more used to. Although I suppose if they're drum and bass crowd, it's very similar to what drum and bass is like.
Yeah.
How was it received?
It was a weird one, because the thing is, like, because again, remember, we're like New York light. So a lot of people who got into drum and bass and got into jungle, the vocal aspect of it, they got into it because they didn't like the direction hip hop was going. They didn't like hip hop was going. I went to grime. Some people went to jungle. So a lot of people were transitioning to that. So from when they hear someone on the mic and spitting, just through that hip hop culture of like hearing the MC spit, and because it's slower than drum and bass and jungle, they thought, okay, you know what? Okay, these men have lyrics. These men can spit, and they took it in as a thing where we like that you can spit fast on this faster beat. I don't know what you call this music. I don't know what you call this genre, but you can spit fast to it, which a lot of hip hop mans, because you put and that's the thing as well, because through that, like, sometimes when we're on mic, we have a jungle MC that thinks he can spit to it. Doesn't work. We have maybe you might be the top hip hop MC, and you try to spit the grime. Doesn't work.
Right.
And that's how we got a lot of our stripes, because because a lot of people think it's just you spit faster and that's the thing, but you have to ride the rhythm sort of thing.
The funny thing is,
say that again?
between hip hop and drum and bass, you can kind of just speed up or slow down depending. You can do like half pace
Exactly
and double pace, and it works on both. But with grime,
it's different.
It's in its own pocket.
And it's different because of the roots of it. Because it evolved from garage, you're flowing a certain way to it.
Of course.
You can't flow hip hop on garage, that wouldn't work, but it's a different flow to it. It's a different rhyming pattern.
Of course.
And that's a lot of people like that fact. And sometimes, especially when you're doing like the one-liners sort of thing.
Of course.
A lot of people, that was new to them and they liked it, because now we're going about the roots of that, because now we're talking about like a reggae, like a dancehall.
Of course. Ragga.
And a lot of people, that was new to them, because we're spitting to a new crowd. Well, again, we don't have urban people that we're spitting to. We're spitting to jungle and drum and bass and rings in the nose and the ears and the eyebrows and tattoos all over. That's what we're spitting for. So when they hear this reggae aspect, they've never heard. A lot of them didn't take in dancehall and reggae in their life, and this is new to them, and they're feeling, oh, geez, okay, this is what's going on. So a lot of people were receptive to it. But you know, one thing I did get though, and this is honestly, it was common as well, especially like in the start of it, like 05, 06, when we were trying to just get, like me and the other MC, we were trying to get dubstep DJs to let us spit on that. A lot of dubstep DJs just want the tune to be played. They don't like a lot of vocals on. So we had a lot of times where, speaking of receptive, we're spitting on the mic, all of a sudden the mic goes quiet. And we're looking, and you just see him turn down the mic, and we're like, oh, okay.
Oh, shit.
Those times I just put down the mic and just do your thing, man.
That's deep.
Because a lot of those people, you have to understand that they produce those songs themselves.
Okay, yeah.
So if they produce the songs and now they're out to broadcast their song and have it played to the world, and they're DJing it, and I'm spitting all over the thing, they're like, nah, it took me 2 days to make this mic off.
And you know what the craziest thing is? Culturally, that's mad, because you see in London, in England, if you're a producer, dubstep or grime, you want someone to spit.
You want it, yeah. And that's a big cultural difference over here. That's a big, massive.
Want, man, like, if you can get even a sound clip of someone that sounds half decent spitting over your beat, for some man, that was all, like, especially in the early 2000s or whatever, when grime was first popping off, like bedroom producers.
Yeah.
That was kind of before there was a career in music or whatever. That was like the pinnacle. If Wiley could spit on my beat.
And there's a lot of respect for the MCs in England, but because the producers are bigger here, the producers get more shine than the MCs in this country.
Of course.
It makes sense. Does make sense.
I hear that, because that's kind of more the route that like EDM kind of takes as well. It's about the producer and the DJ. And the producer and the DJ are normally the same thing. If you're a producer, you learn how to DJ, and then you stand behind the decks and clap.
That's it, exactly.
When your tune's about to drop.
Yeah, and that's a massive, massive cultural difference, and that's why grime was stifled. Grime couldn't progress to where it needs to progress, because the only way you can really get grime to progress is now you have to get the people that like the MC, and who's that? That's hip hop. But now you have to convert people who are growing up on being New York light to like that, and it's culturally it's not the same. It's not the same, because they grow up hip hop, especially if you're like a gangster rapper sort of thing. You grew up with your own struggles. I mean, the struggles are relatable, but culturally it's different. The slang is different. It's different, and from when you hear and a lot of people, they don't understand UK slang. No. So when you're spitting this, and like they're not understanding what UK rappers or UK MCs are saying in the first place. Which, to be fair though, is why Toronto, you kind of, because we have that Caribbean influence here 10 times more than the States. A lot of people, that's why Trey Mission blew, because a lot of people just thought, you know what, he rhymes a bit funny. He's a funny sounding hip hop rapper, but I kind of like it. They don't know what grime is, but they just like what he's saying and they can relate to it, sort of thing.
Yeah, because people give Canadians like a bit of stick, especially like with Drake. And I know we don't always have to mention Drake when we talk about Canada, right? But when people, oh, he's saying words and all of this stuff, it's like, but they've got a big Jamaican influence over there. It's not like
You
people
know
forget
what?
that Canada's not America.
How far is this reach? Because I want to say some things right now, man, about Drake.
Come on, let's go.
Drop it.
You know what? He's from up the street from here too. He's from up the street from here, and a lot of the people you see him hanging around are people I grew up with, like actual man from the hood.
Yeah,
Drake's not from the hood, man. He's not from the hood, and he gets a lot of stick because who he's portraying himself to be is not him. If you
I
see,
heard he started in the middle.
yeah, honestly, I'm fortunate to be in the area I'm in right now, this part of Toronto, like dead in the middle of Toronto.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm fortunate to be here, but he grew up here.
Okay,
And
yeah.
like where I was knocking around, like when I was younger, it was hood. Straps were pulled out left, right, and center. Like you see, it was real.
Yeah.
And then from time to time, I'd see this light-skinned brother just creep by the hood. I'm thinking, who's, because like you know who's in the hood, and you see these man, and you see him chilling with some people that okay, you know, he's chilling with him. All right, cool, you might be all right then. But like he didn't grow up around these areas, man. And from when he's, I don't know, man, it's weird because you know what, internationally he's big, and in America he's big, but over here the people know. The thing I can't, you know what, I will say though, I rate his work rate. His work rate is heavy. And some of the tunes, like I said, I respect good music. He makes some good music. But some of the things he says, the content of what he says, good music or not good music is far from the truth. Far from.
I fell off Drake after.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Drake, so it's cool anyway.
Mixtape Drake was sick, yeah.
Well, So Far Gone and all that, and
no, before that, no.
Comeback seasons and all
Comeback
that.
season was cold.
Yeah.
He's a smart brother though, man. Like he knows who his target markets are. He knows when to spit for gal, when not to spit for gal. Like he knows what he's doing. He's and that's popular music, and that's like for me. I mean, it's good to bob your head to, good when you hear in a club, but for me, I'm not like, that's not tunes I'm downloading and streaming.
So you were a fan of Drake when he came over and done like his freestyles on, was it SBTV and all that?
I was dead. I was looking at him like, what you doing, man? Like, nah, that's dead. That's dead.
Man done tic-tac-toe.
Yeah. Spitting his nursery rhymes up there, man. Like, nah.
Oh, man. So going back for yourself, like 05, 06, after that, where did GRIME sort of take you?
At that time, I actually moved. I was back in England.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know what? I went to GRIME College, but now that I'm in a better place, had my radio show like 4 years, did this and that. Now I'm going to GRIME University. Now things are getting sharpened. Okay, I'm solo now. I'm not with my crew anymore, but like I can still rep from overseas and do my bit in the home of GRIME. It's like when you see, like, when you're watching BBC News or whatever, and you have the people in the studio, and then let's check in with Barry in Afghanistan. I was Barry in Afghanistan. So, like, I was there reporting the reels. So still part of the radio. You know what I was doing is because the radio show was still going on, and I used to just go around doing interviews. Went to Jammer's yard, interviewed him there. It was I don't know if you might know, where is he from? East Town, Bait Nate. I don't know if you know that.
I don't know Bait Nate.
Old school, Fuming.
Yeah, Fuming, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I was trying to remember that, going back years, but yeah, I was sharpening my skills lyrically.
Yeah.
And I wasn't recording too tough. I did a few recordings, but I was just sharpening. Going to raves and taking in the culture and being around the music. So when it came to doing the music itself, I could spit something that was a bit realer than just being there. I'm not even ashamed to say it. I lived in the hood as well. I didn't go there and was living comfy in Canary Wharf or nothing. I was I moved to the hood, and not by choice. It's just that's how life was.
Of course.
And growing up in the hood, and seeing hood things in Toronto, and you can see certain things can coincide. So I'll be honest, I was probably more comfortable living in the hood.
Of course.
Through that, then you can get some of that you can express into music. And I ended up moving back to Canada in 2010. That's the last time I moved back. And by that time, I had enough in my head now that I could just spit reels and just MC and this and that. And ended up forming a new crew with the same brother that I went to college with. We formed a new crew. It was me, him, and then he had known a couple brothers. One's from Leytonstone, actually.
Okay.
And the other one, we always give him stick. He's from, because he tries to act like the man them and like he's good, but I'm trying to remember. He's High Wycombe. He's from High Wycombe. So we're talking about how we grew up and the struggles we went through when we saw this madness, and he tries to chat. Nah, it doesn't work, man. I remember riding horses in High Wycombe, man.
Yeah, try. It's just outside London, man. It's near Slough.
Yeah, it's like you look over your neighbor's fence and see what's going down, but you're not in there though, man.
Nah, you're using Slough. It's more or less Slough, innit?
Yeah, just
Reading, between Reading and London.
Yeah. But I came back and formed a new crew called BMD, British Mandem. But that was different though, because when we had the other team, the UKC, I mean, not that it matters where you're from or whatever, but just to give a bit of context, like the UKC, I'm like my heritage, Black Jamaican. The other MC, Black Jamaican. We had one, again, not that heritage and not that race matters or whatever, but just to give context, we had a white brother from Newcastle, and then we had a Chinese brother from Toronto. Yeah. But now we have this new crew now, BMD, British Mandem, and closer to the roots. First member, Black Jamaican. Second member, Black British Jamaican. Next one, British Jamaican. Next one, British Jamaican. Next one, British Jamaican, half Guyanese. So now we can talk about what's urban, because before with UKC and we're talking about what's urban and what's this and what's that, and we had the struggles and remember this growing up, or remember drinking the nourishment, this and that. We couldn't ask the man from Newcastle that. He's sipping Iron Brew. So we couldn't, like, it's a different, no, it's true. It's a different, and we can't talk to the next man like Freezer. Like he could, he's the Chinese brother. Okay, yeah, you knew, but there's certain things you can't discuss. But now we had four Mandem that we all could relate. We all knew what each other was doing. And boom, then now we would go out and we would go out in force. And when I came back to Canada this time around, there was a progression. Like the seeds that we sowed, like the things that we planted back in 2005, now they're kind of developing sort of thing. And I came back to a different Toronto when I came back. Mumble rap was kicking off. Kids, internet's mad. You're not. There's no more Bear Share and LimeWire. You're getting tunes when you want, and people are starting to experiment. Because I remember at this time as well, now that it's more perceived from the roots that we sowed, now you're getting Skeptors coming over. Now you're getting Krypton Conan coming over. Now you're getting all kind of MCs coming over because we laid the foundation. Yeah. And we laid the foundation, and okay, maybe there was a man that was just listening on the radio show and he never came to a rave, but he might have just continued that progression and grew with the music. So now now after 4 or 5 years later, now he's a promoter and he's bringing who he wants to come over now, just because of the roots that we set. Around these times, again, from the roots, I won't say we gave birth to Trey Mission, but his first radio performance was on our radio show. And now, coming back now, 2010, Trey Mission is on Lord of the Mics and Lord of the Decks and things. So now, when I come back now, it's a better platform, and now the raves, there's more people there. People know the lyrics of the tunes, and it's just a madness. I'm not going to into rave, seeing rings and tattoos and glow sticks. I'm seeing man them in the raves. And 2010, it was on the tail end of a funky house as well.
Yeah, funky was good, man.
Yeah, funky house because it died. We're talking about 08, 09. Not that it died, but it wasn't in the forefront. But over here, it had a resurgence. Like as soon as it died, we had 2 more years of it.
Yeah. I should have been in Canada, boy.
Boy.
Honestly, because I came back as it was done. Like it was done when I came back, and when I came back, it just started, and I was like, "Damn, I get to relive this all over again."
That must have been sick.
Oh, it was mad.
Because you know what it is, yeah. To me, funky house is grime, but for the girls.
You always say that.
Because it is like the fundamentals of funky. Because a lot of the producers that made grime made funky house.
Yeah.
A lot of the DJs that made grime
MCs
made
too.
funky house. The MCs. And the crowd was kind of the grime kind of crowd, but it was happier, friendlier music.
Yeah.
And let's have it right. You go to a christening, you go to a wedding or whatever, and a 2-2 funky house tune comes on. Even your nan is bopping her head, blood.
Yeah. It's feel good music.
Like I know hella big aunties singing about party hard.
Jeez.
But yeah, funky.
I was at a wedding last year, and we were still migraine
skanking. Yeah. Funky was real.
And and now the mad thing is, we're still doing grime, and when we do a grime rave, now we don't have to be with drum and bass. Now we don't have to be with dubstep. Now we can do urban. After urban, the next set's urban. The next set's urban. Because when you go to a rave in UK, you can have a 5-hour UK set, different genres, but it's all going to be urban. Because now we were doing it'd be maybe like a funky warm up, and then you could hop into grime, and then maybe you could hop into bashment. You could hop, and now we can draw in more crowds, and we can influence more people. Because before we weren't influencing urban people, we were influencing people who like drum and bass and like dubstep, but now we are influencing urban people, and they're getting to know the tunes, and the crowds are just getting younger and younger and younger, and the younger youths nowadays, like the way Toronto is, the way they hop on something, it's mad, it's mad.
Yeah, that's sick.
No, it's just honestly, it's crazy, and it's
that sounds. So you came back to a completely different Canada, and you felt more accepted. Like
for sure.
The foundations, what you had set, kind of, you went away and came back, and it started to blossom.
And that's why it was crazy too, because you have to, like I remember I left 07 for like the second time. I left 07 and I came back 2010. I didn't spit once in Canada in 3 years, but I can come back and now people are booking me. Like that's how mad it was. It was crazy. Honestly, it was nuts. It was nuts after that. But it's through the groundwork that was laid years previous. And now people are booking me, and now I'm getting booked for a rave with people that are urban. And now when I'm spitting, I'm in front of the crowd, I can actually feel I can get into it. It's not like I'm reciting something. Now I'm jamming with you, sort of thing. Well, no, it was a good place to come back to. Honestly, it was mad.
So what was like the pinnacle of like that time period? Like when you came back, like what was there like a particular event where you went and you absolutely mashed it down, or someone from the UK came over, or like any highlights?
Well, here's another thing too. We were now like BMD, the British man, we were now ambassadors. If anyone came from UK, they're not going on stage unless we open for them, or if one of our DJs open for them. D Double came a couple times. Open for him.
Go.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, because I used to live in Forest Gate as well. So So Double for me, like that's honestly that's your MC's favorite MC. So
of course,
100%.
So yeah, man. Who else came? Skepta came a couple times, and even though it wasn't us, but like our DJ and open for him and DJ for him, or not open for DJ for, but open for him.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Anytime Trey Mission does a thing, because our DJ's Trey Mission's producer, we have to be involved in that rave too. Crepton Conan, we were there. Chipmunk, we were there. Honestly, so like it became a thing where we were now the ambassadors.
So from your perspective, at that time when those kind of artists came over, were people receive them? Did people know who they were? Like,
well, Skepta, yeah. Skepta's commercial now.
Yeah.
Skepta's commercial, but he keeps it real. It's like he's like half and half. So like the original grime head will go to a Skepta rave because it's Skepta. But the person that loves new music will go to Skepta because they love the new things he's putting out. So it's just like, so they're receptive to Skepta, but they're not receptive to his foundation. They're receptive to what he's putting out now. Yeah. And he just happens to spit what he spit back in the day at the same rave. So it's a kind of best of both worlds sort of thing. But again, like, which is a mad thing, because you know what, say you were to have a rave and say you were to book Wiley, for instance. If you book Wiley, there's a good chance that rave will ram out. There's a very good chance that rave will ram out back in England. If you book Wiley here, you might get half.
But Wiley actually spent quite a lot of time in Canada as well. Like.
In fact, him and my older brother, they're actually good. His maddest thing, he's my nephew's godson or godfather.
Bro,
thing,
the real godfather.
he's it's a madness. But he lived over here, but he kept it low key.
Yeah,
he kept it low. He wasn't out and about. He wasn't doing raves. He wasn't doing.
Okay.
He didn't do anything musical outside his house. Yeah, so people didn't even know he was here.
Okay, he was just there to chill out.
He record an album.
Okay, so he was
because he didn't even release the album.
Yeah, but you know what Wiley's like anyway.
Don't turn up for shows. You know.
That was at the zip file times.
Yeah.
Using the zips.
Nice. Peak.
Okay, raw. So, and how long did that run kind of go on for then? So you came back 2010, and
so
it was like a mad run.
Yeah, so without going into it, like we came into a bit of I want to call it like creative differences. That was from say about 2014 till about 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was about. Because like I said, like we're going into like we had a bit of differences, and the men are still doing their thing. They're not really doing it to the capacity that they were doing it before. Yeah. But they're still doing their thing. But I stopped doing music with them about 2018.
Okay. Good. Because I'm sure I saw a Vice documentary.
Yeah, that was mad. That was a weird one still, because. Like, yeah, I did music and I did this and that, but like, the other man just with a camera, like everywhere that was a madness still. But it was, experience was crazy though. Because they followed us to the, one of the D-double raves that we did. That was a crazy night. It was nuts. But they followed us there. They did a documentary. And again, these are people who it was off the hype, and it was off the foundation that was built that kind of got into it and thought, you know what, something's bubbling here. We want to get straight to the source. So what they did is they asked around and said, if I need to know grime in Toronto, who do I speak to? And everyone they asked, the arrows just pointed to us. So they got in contact with us, and then we did when the documentary came out. That was actually a follow-up. They actually had a write-up on us. About half a year before. And what happened was we were interviewed, and then they just took notes, did the interview, and had the write-up come up. And the write-up had a lot of response. to the point where he thought, you know, we have to do a follow-up.
Yeah, they want to know.
Follow-up, he just thought, you know what, we're not going to do another write-up. Now we need to do a little documentary sort of thing. And last time I checked, they had some mad views as well. But there was another follow-up after that. It was, they did a photo shoot on, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like the best urban or alternative crew or something like that in Toronto. And they got us for that too. So 3 times they actually interviewed us.
Wow, that's good, man.
Yeah.
Really good, bro. So like since
that was the peak though. Like from then that was like the climax, and then it's not what it was before.
So what was that? Was that 2004, between 2014 and 18? Was that between that time frame?
That was about 2016, 2017.
Okay. So after BMD, obviously you've kind of gone your own way. Like,
yeah.
What are you still doing grime?
You know what? After this Corona, there's gonna be a resurrection.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a resurrection.
It's being sharpened, yeah. The pencil's being sharpened.
Oh, it's been mad because I all the while I was always a DJ too.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. Like I used to DJ in clubs as well, but I never really, because every crew I was in, there was a DJ, a designated DJ who didn't spit. So for me, it was just like, you know what? Let me just spit. And my DJing was just put on the back burner. So I've actually been DJing over 10, almost 15 years, 10, 15 years. And I've don't get me wrong, I've done like a club here and there. I've done like a venue here and there, but I never really put it into like the forefront. Yeah. And the thing with me is, again, given the fact like I'm a little bit older too, I don't want to turn into a Wiley where man are gunning you because you're a 40-year-old MC. So what? Like, I think with a DJ is a DJ can last forever. You got a couple man DJing in the 50s.
Well, you got Riddimz.
Yeah.
I know he's not grime, but you got Riddimz. You got DJ Westwood, Tim Westwood.
Those
bro. Bruv, I'm trying shit. My dad is still a DJ, big man. You get me?
See what I'm saying though? Like DJs have longevity, whereas if I go to a rave with 20-year-olds, and say 10 years from now, and they see man with a big white beard and gray hair,
come to the mic and get slapped in the face, man don't care, get slapped in the face and yeah.
So, but the thing about it is, anytime I'm on mic or I'm on deck, I'm bringing a mic with me, because you can pull that out on certain occasions.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I mean, I've been recording a couple tunes. I recorded a couple tunes last year for some hip hop guys as well. But if it happens, but it's not my focal point. It's not my focal point kind of thing. Like, because I'm at my age, I'm not trying to. If I haven't gone clear yet, then I'm not gonna try to like make a career now. Like, if it's different if you were like the biggest MC there was at 20 years old and you carry into your 40s. That's different than if you weren't and you're trying now. Like, so it's a little bit different. So
that's exactly where I am at.
Yeah, and it's like the focus is change. And if you want to have a career in music, if you want to have a bit of longevity, you have to take a certain path. And at certain times you have to say to yourself, you know what? Okay, I tried this thing. You know what? I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the experiences, the places it's taken me, like the people I've met, the people I've MC'd for, like with D-Double. I mean, the things I've done with music, I'm happy with. I'm happy with. And at this point in time, I won't turn down things. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not chasing it like I used to chase. I'd rather chase, say, DJing to give myself longevity than MCing. But don't get me wrong, if a man were to come up to me and say, you know what, you want to, like, I probably won't ever turn down recording a song if anyone asks me to. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hear that.
Yeah, since like the times where I wasn't with BMD, it's been 2 years. It's been a year and a half, 2 years. Now it's just like finding a new formula, like kind of thing. And it's the same thing what happened when I was in, when I moved back to England and I didn't MC for 3 years. And then I came back to a bigger team. So it's sometimes you have to take a step back and like, rather than just run yourself into a closed door, and like sit back and see what needs to be attacked and where there's gaps in the market and kind of thing.
So what's your
those advantage?
So what's your grind? Because from what I can hear, like I won't say necessarily entirely yours, but the legacy of grime in Canada belongs partly to you. So what's your legacy looking at now? As in, what does Toronto or Canada, if you have that information, how do they feel about grime in the current?
It's a tough one right now, because you know what? Because right now, but I mean, you could kind of say it's different in England as well. But if you talk about drill, someone would know drill before grime.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to
if you say
now.
UK hip hop, someone will know UK hip hop before grime. So it's a mad one still, because it's the same thing now. Like say if Double were to come tomorrow, all the men that like the people that are going to grime raves now, if there was a grime rave now, you might not see them. You're probably going to see the people that liked it during the drum and bass, the jungle. Those people probably go to that rave.
Okay.
So it's like the same way it evolved in England is the same way it evolved now, kind of thing. However, there's people that, because say in England, if D-Double were to throw a rave, you at least have some people over there, an older cousin, an older brother, that used to say, you know, D-Double used to be sick. You need to see this guy MC. On top of the fact that he might collab with someone that influenced him to start MC.
Of course.
And so you'll get a different crowd. Whereas here you won't get that. Because it was a subculture to begin with, who are you really going to get to say, you know what, I used to listen to D-Double, he influenced me? Because it's a little bit different in that aspect.
But so so if the UK music that Canada or Toronto is feeding right now is drill.
And UK hip hop as well.
UK hip hop. So what we're talking about, like the kind of Afro swing type.
Yeah. But in saying that though, it is huge right now. As a tune drops in England now, which is mad to me, it's crazy, it drops here too.
Yeah, of course, because everything's international with the internet.
That never happened before. That never happened before. Tunes were coming like any mad tune that was coming out 10 years ago, someone would have to find it. The second a mad tune comes out now, it comes out here too.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, man.
And on top of the fact you got man like Drake bringing, which I can kind of rate him for. He's bringing awareness in this country to say man like J Hus.
Yeah.
No one would have known J Hus in Canada if Drake never did it.
And J Hus is cold. J Hus is cold. So all right, cool. Talking of, I feel like it's such a cliche because I talk to someone from Canada. We have to mention Drake. Top Boy. What did you make of Top Boy? Because
I love that, man.
If GRIME had a TV show, apart from Dubplate Drama,
that was tough too. Yeah, that's real.
Do you know what? I actually, when people internationally ask me about GRIME, what GRIME was about, I actually try to direct them to Dubplate Drama because
you got it.
Yeah.
It's quite accurate.
That were in that too as well.
Yeah, like, man. Yeah, Dubplate Drama was incredible, man.
Is that still on Channel 4? Was it on Channel 4?
It's on YouTube. It's got its own YouTube channel, and they're all there ready to be watched on YouTube, man. Dubplate Drama. Anyone listening to this, whether in UK, Canada, China, India, wherever, YouTube, Dubplate Drama, if you want to understand what GRIME was. That was Pirate Radio, all of this stuff, and the faces and the names that you will see in that is incredible. Yeah, so what did you make of Top Boy?
You know what? Again, because when I moved back, I moved into the hood. There was a lot of things, and this is like, we're going on like 10 years after I moved back, like close to 10 years. Well, no, because the other one, the original came out like, what, 4 years ago? Yeah. So when it did come out, honestly, it brought back memories, man. Not only did it bring back memories, but it was scary to see that things that were happening that I used to see on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It was real. And it's a real, like, we have hoods in Canada. We have things that are urban, but every hood that you go, like if you go to a favela in Brazil, it's hard, it's hood, it's this and that. But it's not going to be the same as what happens in England, which isn't the same as what happens in Toronto, which isn't the same thing that happens in New York. So I can see it and I can relate to it, and I can say, you know what? I tell a lot of people here that, you know what, 99% of what you see there, it might not happen every single day, but it's real.
It's real.
I can probably tell you a situation, every scene that was there that actually happened. And it was real, man. Honestly, it was real.
Because beyond music, in America, right, and I know I don't want to kind of couple you together, but in America, people don't really know that there's black people in England. They do now as times go.
Same as Canada, though. Same as Canada.
Right, yeah, this feels gonna ask. Like, are they aware of the fact that like England's hood?
When I tell them that when I tell people, because again, when you're talking urban, it's not when Montreal's like that, Toronto's like that. Maybe Edmonton, which is out west, is like that, but there's not a lot of areas like that in Canada. But when I tell people that, you know what, there's more black people in London than there is Toronto, they'll be like they don't believe it. They don't believe it, man.
Because I was in America once, and the guy couldn't believe that I was from England.
When was this?
This was 2000, when we was both out there, not together. It was like 2011,
12, something like that.
Yeah.
Really?
And I was in Lids getting my hat, and man was like, it's funny because Drake come on the radio, and like we're taking a piss in the shop, winding up my sister singing. What was that tune you done with The Weeknd? What's it?
I ain't a big fan.
What you bothering me for? Anyway, so we're in there busting bear joke or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, where you from?" I was like, "Oh, I'm from London." Well, from England? Nah, they ain't got black folk out in England. Yeah, man, we out here.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it must be nice. It must be nice. And I was like, no, it gets gritty in London.
Yeah, that's the thing. They seem to think that we don't have no gritty areas in England. Like, it don't go down in England like that.
But you know why? Because like, and you're saying that is very much the same in Canada. So I assume that all the media that North America in general get of the UK is probably Hugh Grant films, Harry Potter, and stuff about the Queen.
Yeah. And you know what? Growing up, that's how it was. That's how it was. Because like I was saying, like there's tons of British people here, but then how many British urban people? How many? You don't see it here.
Yeah.
You don't see it here, and that's why when Top Boy came out, Top Boy was another dubplate drama. It was another kidhood. It was another this. It was another that. Which you men are probably like, okay, there's another one. Let's see what kind of twist they put it on. Yeah. When it came out here, it was like, there's black people in England. so for us, they got a taste of what it's like. But from the English and the British standpoint, it's like, okay, it's just another one. What twist did they put on it? But for us,
I just thought because of the ties that England, the UK have with Canada, that maybe you had a bit more of a understanding of
more than America, but still
not enough. Not enough. Okay, fair enough, man.
Yeah. But in saying that, like honestly, like Top Boy put on a different level. Now they know. Now they know. So big up Drake, man. Yeah. Although, like when I heard he was behind it, the last thing I wanted to do was see him in any scene. Like I didn't want to.
Same.
The fact that he didn't.
You know what?
I rate him for that too.
Yeah, because I was half expected him to like pull up a one scene as like the top bad man or something. Yeah. You know, if I just pull up, they just, hey, where's the money? And then
had he done that, that would have ruined it for me. I would have locked off.
Honestly, I rate him for having the self-control not to put himself in it, because he's the type of person that probably would do that.
Yeah.
Well, there's another season potentially. He's got enough time to go and ruin it.
He'll be in their accent and everything, man. Like honestly, like
That's what I was gonna say, because the Canadian, like the quote unquote urban Canadian accent, it's like a mix between kind of like
It's there's a lot of but here's the thing though, because even for a British person to say, or even for someone from London to say like this is a London slang, ultimately it's a Caribbean slang.
and yeah, that's
So
what I wanted to
it's not
touch
even a London slang, for instance. London's taken from Caribbean the same way Toronto's coming from Caribbean,
Yeah.
which goes to show you that, you know what, they need some respect put on their name, because look what they did. Because anywhere you go, you'll know, someone will know how to say Yaman.
Yeah,
Anywhere
or
you go.
Wagwan, like running around saying Wagwan.
It's
That's
just that London and Toronto took more of that.
But you know the thing is, it's because people forget that Canada isn't America.
You know what? The maddest, every time I was in London, and someone hears me, like, well, the way I speak is mad to begin with, because like, if I'm in Canada, they say I have an accent. If I'm in London, they say I have an accent. If I'm in Manchester, they say I have an accent. So it's just like, mine's just like a mix. But anytime I'm over there, the first question they ask me is, oh, what state are you from? Thinking I'm from, like, there's no states in Canada.
The provinces, isn't it, in Canada?
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know that to begin with. So
I've learned how to tell the difference between a Canadian and an American accent on regular Canadian. Not that you're not regular, but you know, like white people, because it's all about the boots and like
that's like the West Coast though. The West,
okay.
The West they speak like that. West of Canada.
And I got a friend from Newfoundland.
Oh, they speak almost Irish, man.
Yeah, they
have an Irish accent. You know what? You know what? I had one headmaster in secondary. I had one headmaster in secondary, and the whole year, I thought to myself, you know what? Like, he talked as Irish can be, and the last day of school, I remember I asked him, "Where in Ireland are you from?" He's like, "No, I've never lived." He was like about 60, 70 years old. He said, "I've never left the country in my life." And honestly, I felt like he was jamming with the leprechauns and things. But it's everywhere. There's crazy accents out here, and even in the way the Toronto one is. Oh, well, no, my wife is here. But yeah.
Yo. Jesus.
You're talking to my people right now.
Oh, am I?
Yeah. How many people are locked in right now?
It's not live.
Oh well, it was going to be anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna go. It's gonna go out. Yeah.
You're famous now.
Yeah, you're famous, man. But no, yeah, we get a good amount of listeners. But all of that said, anyway, we are probably looking to wrap up anyway. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Any wild stories? Anything grime related? Anything to look out for?
Anything grime related?
Or culture related? Like, yeah, anything.
But you know what? Just to kind of sum it up, Lord, the thing is, it's different out here, and it's very, very different. And you know what? One thing I realized as soon as I got into the music, and as soon as I realized to myself, no matter, because you know what, we used to put a lot of, this is back, not the BMD, but the UKC group days, we used to put a lot of groundwork in. Snow would be coming out middle of February. This is the days we used to actually physically hand out flyers. We were flying car to car in the snow and fingertips freezing and this and that. And we used to put a lot of groundwork in because we thought, you know what, if we work hard, we can build something that, like, you know what, we can make this like rise above subculture. But one thing over the years I did realize, and not that it's sad to say, but it just is what it is. I realized that it's always going to stay subculture. No matter what, there's too many cultural differences for this to become mainstream. It's very, very different. Because say Top Boy, for instance, as wild as Top Boy was, I don't know how many humans take on Top Boy, but as wild as Top Boy was, that's never gonna come mainstream TV over here. It's just culturally, it's just way too different. And it's no one's fault. It's just that the way that they grow up in this country is different from say a Canadian version of Top Boy was to come out tomorrow. That would automatically be top of the charts out here. But just because there's more people to relate on.
Can relate. And I suppose culturally, you take a lot from America. So
Exactly.
So,
and which is why, you know what, things like, even like
Wire.
His wife, he watches Power. Yeah. Power is like, people go mad for Power out here. But because they can relate to it more in Canada as opposed to Top Boy.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But again, it's to kind of sum everything up. It is what it is. It's always going to stay a subculture, just because of the cultural differences. Which, to be honest, I'm okay with. You just have to spin it different. You just have to get a smaller, it's more of an intimate venue. Yeah. It's more of and it's a thing where everyone knows each other when we're doing a rave. So like every rave you do is like a house rave, not like house music. It's like someone's house party. Yeah. So and everything turns into that, which it becomes more of a community vibe as opposed to you just throwing a rave trying to get money. And
I suppose as well, the people that are gonna mess with grime or like UK music, they're really gonna mess with it. They're not casual. They got love for it.
So there's the pluses and minuses. You don't get a lot of plastic fans listening to it.
You won't see someone walking around in a New General t-shirt and not know who DWE is.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's true. And in that sense, even though it's never going to become mainstream, that is the best thing about it. That is the ultimate best thing about it, because and that's the thing is, especially when I came back 2010, anytime I was doing a rave, you knew everyone wanted to be there. It wasn't a thing like back in the day where one friend was tricking their friends into saying, yeah, Jay-Z's going to be there, and then it's a grime rave. It's not going to be anything like that. Like people, when I came back, people wanted to be there. And it was, you know what, talking about funny story. There was one time I remember it was a St. Patrick's Day rave. We were doing a St. Patrick's Day rave, and I was emceeing and this and that. And I saw someone in the corner with headphones on. While I'm emceeing, I'm thinking, yo, what's going on? Like, I caught feelings for it. And then I went up to them after, and I said, like, well, go on, like, you don't want to listen? Like, you don't want to be here? And then it was mad, because this was like, 2010. They had an iPod. They showed me the iPod, and it was a recording of one of my radio shows. And they were just listening to our radio show that we recorded the day before on the iPod in the rave, which is still mad, but
weird, but yeah,
they actually had it downloaded and they were listening to that.
All right, cool, man. So before we go, we ask every guest this question, right? Yeah. I don't want you to think too hard about it or take it too deep.
Yeah.
But if one version of Wiley had to disappear, his producer, catalog, or his MC, you can only have one. What Wiley are you keeping? You keeping Wiley the MC or Wiley the producer?
There was a third one, producer, MC, or...
No, it was just two. So the producer or the MC. And...
it'd have to be the MC.
Or you're keeping?
It'd have to be the MC easily. That's an easy one.
Well, you're keeping the MC, yeah?
No. I'm keeping the producer.
Oh, okay.
You're keeping the MC, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. Because especially during the days when say from the garage to GR.I.M.E days, that middle portion was Esky beat ultimately.
Yeah.
So without any Esky beat, it's like how there's the monkey and then there's the human. You can't skip out on the Neanderthal and this and this. You have to have everything there. So yeah, it would have to be, because he wouldn't have to spit. Just make your Esky beats and have someone else spit. I would take it all day, 100%.
I hear that logic, Like, it's undeniable logic. There was no right or wrong answer, by the way. It's just something that we ask people.
Yeah,
So so where can our listeners find you? We'll link your socials and stuff.
yeah. I'll give you all of that, but like, just holler at me. Insta, Riddimz, RIDDIMZ_BTB. But YouTube, there's tons of freestyles and tunes and this and that on YouTube. Even look up the UK Connection. You can look up the British Mandem as well, BMD, UKC, or just look up Riddimz MC. You'll find something there, guaranteed.
Wicked, man.
Sick.
All right, cool. I think that's it, unless you've got absolutely anything else you want to say, man. Well, thank you for being a guest. And yeah, man, when you put it on them, if you put on any grime waves, if we can get out there, if we're allowed to cover that.
This is the rebuilding stage. When Corona's done, yeah, come to Toronto, man.
Oh, yeah, we're there. Trust me, we'll be there.
I do. I would love to. It'd be sick. Yeah, man, we try and work something out, man. But yeah, man, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much, man. Peace.
Big up,
Wait, right.